Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday. We are here. Sorry. Oh, it's been a morning. It has been a morning. Anyway, all right. I'm going to wait for some people to come on. And then I have some thoughts that I want to share that I wrote down last night. So I have a friend that really did kind of inspire this. They're a little worried because he's, oh, you're not pale. So they're a little worried about my safety here. And it's a very good friend of mine from England. So he says, just write a very strongly worded email. So this isn't a strongly worded email, but it could be. But it is something that just kind of fell out of my head. And I was reminded of a quote from years and years and years ago, 72 years ago to be exact, or 71 and a half years, if you will. So I'm going to wait for a few people to come on. So while we're doing that, let's pull some Aloha cards. All right. Let's do the Aloha thingies. So anyways, let's see what we got here. This is kind of the set the just kind of give us a little bit of whew. So donate newspapers to an animal shelter, or if you have old magazines, cut off your information and donate it to a doctor's office or a shelter, or somewhere where they can benefit from these things and have a little bit of a escape, right? Host a family game night. Let's see what else. Take time to regroup yourself. Take time to regroup yourself. I think a lot of us need to take time to regroup ourselves. Practice patience. Not the easiest thing for me to do, but practice patience. So, I got to remember that one. That one needs to stay on the top. Let's see. Make a reusable utensil kit for your car. That's a good one. And say I love you to someone special. So I'm just going to say I love you to all of you. Whether you're watching live or you're watching later, I just want to say I love you. Even if I don't know you, that's fine, right? Because like we always say, if a stranger can hate for no reason, a person can love for no reason. So, and I do. All right. So, again, I'm just going to read what I wrote last night. This probably will not, I don't know if this will end up in a discussion or not, but at the moment, this is just something that came out of my brain, and probably something that I think is a little bit more in tune to what I've been wanting to say and haven't been able to say. So you can hear my throat's already getting I already got a catch in my throat. So anyways, let's do this. On June 9th, 1954, attorney Joseph Welch said, oh, by the way, sorry, I will start that over. I wrote this down because you guys know my brain. All right. So this is something I wrote down actually last night, refined it this morning, and I'm just going to read it from the book. All right. So on June 9th, 1954, attorney Joseph Welch said these words that have since been immortalized. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency? These words ended the tirade of Joseph McCarthy and his ability to prey on the fears of America. That was 72 years ago, this June, and here we once again have our fears in the crosshairs of people drunk with power, drunk with authoritarianism, and high from all the... Oops, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Forgive me. Don't mind if I start over, okay? I apologize. This is the refined one. All right, so here we go. Again, I apologize. It's been a morning. I have been up since pretty much 4 o'clock, but pretty much 5 o'clock. So it's not that, that's early, but yeah, my brain is just, did not get a lot of sleep last night. So I apologize. Take over, or take number 2. All right. On June 9th, 1954, attorney Joseph Welch said the following words, which have since been immortalized. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you no sense of decency? These words came at the end of Joseph McCarthy's anti-communist tirade and summed up the lives he had ruined as he preyed on the fears of American citizens. That was 72 years ago this June, and here, once again, America's fears are caught in the crosshairs and being exploited by an administration drunk with power, drunk with authoritarianism, and high from all the chaos they are purposely stoking, just like Nazi Germany and the Red Scare. But history has taught many of us. History has shown us the ones in history who quietly stashed away neighbors, friends, and even strangers at their own risk. And it is upon their courage, their stories, their bravery that many now take to the streets or to social media to defend their neighbors, their friends, and strangers. They stand in harm's way against masked thugs to exercise their First Amendment right to speech, sometimes getting injured or beaten, and in recent cases, murdered. And for no other reason than true human decency. The administration wants people to believe they are paid because they need to stoke the fires of doubt. They need to feed the minds of their followers to create more division, more anger, more hate. But those in the streets, those protesting, protecting their fellow human beings, being beaten or murdered, they are not paid. They are people recognizing history, trying to repeat itself. They are people getting involved, whether it be in the streets or on a social media platform. They are the true patriots, fighting against nationalism. They are people who choose decency over manipulation and country over a broken party. So we must ask MAGA, who has splintered off from the Republican Party, have you no sense of decency? We must ask the congressional majority, have you no sense of decency? We must ask the Senate majority, have you no sense of decency? Because if you did, people would not be murdered or beaten in the streets. People would not be stolen from their homes or jobs and imprisoned unlawfully by an administration that you have given unchecked power, by an administration that you have allowed to violate the Constitution and the rights that it gives its citizens and non-citizens alike over and over again. We must ask the MAGA news agencies, have you no sense of decency? We must call out Caroline Leavitt. Have you no sense of decency? We must ask Kristi Noem, Greg Bovino, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, Steve Miller, Project 2025, and the wannabe dictator. Have you no sense of decency? Because if you had even a shred of decency, you would not have sold your soul for the ugly lies you spread, the manipulations of truth that you peddle to your followers who lap it up like it's a gift. If the administration had any decency, they would not be fueling the fires of racism and prejudice or continually stoking the flames of hate with the antagonistic rhetoric of nationalism or Christian nationalism masked as patriotism and faith to promote division. But alas, that faction has no sense of decency. So for those of us, Democrats and real Republicans, libertarians, and other parties who do have decency, a sense of morality, who do have compassion, who do have empathy, who call their representatives or post on social media or protest together in the streets or gather on street corners or commune with one another, we must shine a light on Mr. Welch's words once more and continually beg the question of all who follow this administration. Have you no sense of decency left? And if I have offended you or angered you with my words that poured from me like hot coffee, then you must ask yourself the question too, because this isn't a question of party or even character, but a question of morality. Those are my feelings. That's how I'm feeling right now. And I'm at this point in my life where I am tired, absolutely tired of walking on eggshells, afraid of offending someone. You know, having to whisper my own political beliefs at the risk of being called a hippie or a liberal or a snowflake or a radical left scum. You see, here's the point that this whole thing that I read is talking about. Where is our morality? Where's the morality of the people who walk away from family, who walk away from friends over politics? This is literally the worst president in the United States. He's not making America great again. Every time he points a finger, oh, they're paid, oh, they're this, oh, they're that, there are three fingers pointing back at him. There is proof that at his rallies, even though he said they were big, even though they said they were huge, that those people were actually being paid. But if you try to tell his followers that, they will deny it. They will say, no, you're just pointing fingers. But who pointed the finger first? When you look at, oh, somebody tried to take the radical left scum, tried to take me out. They tried to assassinate me. Ears don't magically grow back, guys. Okay, you lose cartilage, it's gone. And ears also don't bleed that much. And if they did bleed, they're not bleeding forward, they're bleeding backwards. But people will believe what they want to believe. Look at the behavior at the Republican convention last year. People wearing Tampax on their ears. Seriously. I'm not saying one party is better than the other, but there is a broken party out there. And one thing I really, really want to make very clear to people is you have to stop referring to all of them as Republicans. All right? Because I know Republicans and I know MAGA Republicans. And my Republicans are on the right side of history. Not the MAGA ones, the ones I know that are fighting against what is happening now, the ones in the streets with the protesters that people, whether it's a libertarian or a Republican or a Democrat. That's why I said the real Republicans in here. My sister is a Republican, and she is more fiercely political about this than I am. She's been out to the protests. She's been out in the streets with those people. Marching for morality, marching for empathy, marching for compassion, marching against tyranny, marching against nationalism, marching against authoritarianism. So we need to make that distinction, and we need to make it now. Okay, because it's not the whole Republican Party. Like I've said before in my previous posts, there are groups, Republicans against Trump. There are groups, Republicans, Democrats against Trump. There is, Republicans against MAGA. There's a lot of people in that party. That party is broken. Even though they will tell you, we have the strongest party. We have the blah, blah, blah party. No, it's not true. It's broken. And we have proof. We have receipts. And I think that's why we realize now that it's not about party anymore. It's not about whether you are an actual Republican or if you're a Democrat or if you're a Libertarian or whatever other party, the Workman's Party, the Peace Party, the Freedom Party, the Green Party, all the parties out there. This isn't about party anymore. This is about our country. This is about our country trying not to go backwards in history. Let me ask you a question. Why would you think that this country wasn't already great? Why do you need someone running around in a red hat, saying stuff like this? Someone who literally had a hat on his wall that, Trump 2028. He can't run again. And yeah, people will sit there and say, well, they constitutionally can't do that. There's a lot of things they constitutionally can't do, but they've done it. You see, here's the thing. Undocumented immigrants have a right in this country. They have a right to due process. That is in the Constitution. And their due process is being violated because they're either being arrested at the courthouses, they're being arrested from their homes, they're being arrested from their jobs. I mean, the other day they arrested, a 5 or 6 year old? Yeah, wow, real criminal behavior there. What do? Pick his nose? I see adults do that in their car when they're driving. Come on. Where is our sense of decency? Where is our sense of morality? We have let someone stoke the fires of anger and hatred and racism and prejudice in this country. And there are people out there who support this, who also, will sit there and post all these lovely memes about Dr. King on Martin Luther King Day. You can't do both. This is what he fought against. But it's no longer about one race. It's about all of us. It's about all of us coming together in this country and bringing America back from the edge, because that's where we're at. America was never not great. We had flaws, yeah. And guess what? The one thing that this administration has done right is shown us where all of our flaws are. It has shown us where we have fallen short as a country, where we've fallen short when it comes to the representation of our people of color, our gay community, anybody, our trans community, which I know is also part of the gay community, but they seem to be a big talking point with this administration. Do you know less than 2% of the athletes that would compete that are transgender? Well, I should say, do you realize the percentage of, the transgender athletic competitors are less than 2%? And if you ask their teammates, most of them don't give a shit. Maybe someone on another team who might have lost to somebody does. Then you know what? Practice harder. Okay? Because the one thing you have that they don't is that you were born in the body you feel like you were born in. You don't have to have an identity crisis. You don't have to, wonder or fight against other people to be who you want to be. If you're part of the gay community, you have to fight for your rights every day. They had rights and their rights are being taken away. If you're a woman, our rights are being taken away. I talked about the admiral who was relieved of duty. She had an exemplary record. And even retired military have said she was removed for no other reason than that she's a woman. We have allowed misogyny to run rampant, and which kind of makes me laugh too, because you have the dog killer in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. You have a woman who covered up work of a pedophile as the Attorney General. And don't give me this bullshit that blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I mean, you have a putz as the guy in charge of our health. And are those my opinions? Yeah, absolutely. The puppy thing isn't. The covering up the Epstein stuff in Florida isn't. These people have been strategically picked. And none of, their followers don't want to see it. I know their followers wouldn't have made it this far if they watched my show, because I know I pissed them off. And why? Because I questioned their morality. I'm not questioning the morality of a regular Republican. I'm questioning the morality of MAGA people. Straight up. And I'm not afraid of offending anyone anymore. Because I can't be my true self if I have to be quiet around everybody on my page because I'm afraid of offending someone. Like I said at the end of my thing, if that offended you and you have made it this far, you need to check yourself at the door and do some serious self-reflection. Period. Because something in you is either angry or hurting or in pain, and you are letting this motherfucker fuel all of that. 100%. And we can't have that anymore. Like I said, this isn't about party anymore. I don't give a shit what party you're in. This is about our country. This is about the way people look at us. I have friends in Canada that will not come here, not because they're afraid, but because they cannot support our economy with that clown in the White House. They will not support that economy. I have friends in England that will not come here because they're afraid they're not going to go home. And they're white. So no, it's not about being a person of color, but also because they don't want to add to our economy. We used to be a country that people respected. We used to be a country that people could come to for help. And what do we hear? Oh, well, they owe us money. Oh, well, they owe us money. Yeah, well, we owe China a boatload of money. All right? We owe other countries money. But why does it always have to be about economics? Why can't it just be about human decency? Yes, there will be immigrants that come here, and yes, there will be immigrants who are deported. That is how all countries work. Maybe they'll try again, maybe they'll try to come back. But you can't blame somebody for trying to look for a better life, to try to have and provide a better life for their families. The president got rid of birthright citizenship, which means he can easily revoke a child's citizenship if the parents were not legally here. Yep. When do we stop? I'm not smiling because I'm happy. I'm smiling because I'm curious. When do we stop? When do we take that moment to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, am I on the right side of history or am I on the wrong side of history? When do we stop turning a blind eye? You know, after World War II, there were a lot of people that spoke up and said, well, I didn't know what was happening. We just heard whispers. I'm not sure how you couldn't know what was happening, but I also recognize that in the understanding that they didn't have the social media or the news that we have now. They didn't have 24/7, news. They didn't have social media. Their newspapers were skewed to fit, the nonsense that their regime was spewing. And so maybe perhaps a lot of them didn't believe the whispers. But when whispers come to you that are that bad, how can you not hear it? How can you not believe it? I can't remember what movie I was watching, but I was watching a movie and two men ended up behind enemy lines. And, in the villages far, far away, they don't get the news like everybody else does. And, so clearly they're definitely shielded from the atrocities of their government. And they tried literally to kill these men. And I don't know if that's happened. It was fiction, but I don't know if that's happened in real life or not. But, they were just like, well, why are they doing this? The guys were questioning, like, why are they trying to attack us? And, one guy just said perfectly, because they don't know. They don't know. As far as they were concerned, anybody not speaking German was their enemy. But they didn't know about what was happening outside of their own walls, outside of their tiny little villages. They didn't know that their neighbors right across the sea were being bombed. Just the blitz, right? And we can't let that happen again. We have to stop letting this administration prey on our fear, prey on our anger, and prey on our hate. I get it. We're going to be angry. Okay? We're going to be sad about things. We're going to be upset about things. But the one thing we need to remind ourselves to do is while we're doing this, be kind to your fellow neighbor. Don't go on social media and say, oh, well, the Republicans, because not all Republicans are like that. I do try to correct people on there. I'm not kidding. I put myself in the line of fire. I am now a registered Democrat, so I can vote. But honestly, a lot aligns with that. I never thought I'd ever say that in my life because I used to be a registered Republican until 2016. I've talked about that before and why I left the party. But I also told you why siblings stayed, because she's all, I want him to see that, his own party's voting against him. So hers is more out of obstinate. But honestly, she's a true hippie. She went from they turned my flower child into a hippie. Seriously. A little bit of levity, guys. But anyways, I can talk on this all day. But, just because someone, belongs to the GOP doesn't mean they're all bad. All right? Just because someone is a libertarian doesn't mean they're all bad. All right? And just because someone's a Democrat doesn't mean they're all bad. Because the people who are marching in the streets, who are communing together, and who are posting on social media, or even if they're not posting on social media, they're allowing themselves to be a venting machine for their friends who are just frustrated, and, you know, and they're checking in on their people. Everyone on this side of history is doing their part, whether it's loud or quiet, whether it's in the streets or in their homes and on their phones or on their computers. They're checking in with one another, making sure the other one is okay, making sure their people are okay. And that's what we need to do. We need to band together to make sure we're all okay. And while we're doing that, we need to shine our light out there. We need to immortalize the words of Mr. Joseph Welch and ask people, have you no sense of decency? And maybe those words won't affect a lot of people, but I guarantee you it will affect some. And it'll do that because anybody who remembers history, and if they say to you, well, why are you asking me that? It's like, because they asked that to Joseph McCarthy during his, you know, tirade of anti-communism, ruining people's lives without question. Oh, well, you know, your grandfather was this, so you must be. My grandfather was a Jehovah's Witness. I was raised a Catholic. And that may not seem like a big deal, but it is. Because that's what separates us. That's what makes us different. We have to stand up for what's right. If you pray, pray. If you send out good juju, send out good juju. If you send out good vibes, send out good vibes. Because that's how we're going to change this. Let the people march. Let the people do what they need to do. But for those of you who don't know what to do, for those of you who are afraid to go outside of your doors, for those of you who are afraid to, you know, upset the apple cart on your social media, just put out the positive stuff. Okay? It may seem hokey to you. It may seem like woo-woo to you. But you know what? Love will always conquer hate. Love will always be greater than hate. I can't remember the exact quote from Dr. King, but he made a quote very similar to that about, you know, how we must love because love will conquer hate. So shine your light, friends. And when you feel down, reach out to someone. My inbox is always open if you need to vent. Even if you don't want to respond, you say, you don't need to respond, but I need to yell at somebody and I can't do it here. So my inbox is always open, whether it's on Twitter under Shellbell's Quest, or Facebook on Messenger, or in the comments of these videos on YouTube or Blue Sky or Threads. I'm here for you. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm deciding about a show tomorrow, but you know, I think I might take the rest of the week off because the last couple of shows and the last couple of days have just been very, very heavy and really kind of weighted down my soul. And I think I just need to take a breath. And I think I need to take a deep breath. So, and I'm going to Disneyland on Thursday. So no, there would not have been a show on Thursday, but I think tomorrow I am going to practice self-care by not doing a show. All right. So I will see you back here next Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Under Shelly Marie Lucas, you can find me across the social media board, but it all starts at YouTube. All right. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you again for watching. Muddy, older sibling, thank you for popping on. And again, I love all of you. I love all of you. No matter what side of history you're on. Because you know what? Whatever is hurting other people is not an easy thing for me to say because I get very, very mad at those people. I don't love this administration. They can take a hike. But my people that do not agree with me, I love you anyway. Because you're my people. And I know for whatever reason you follow these things, you follow them. But again, have a great day, everybody. I love you too, Muddy, and I will see you next Monday.